The Mercer family never expected their Sunday drive to change everything. On the rain-slicked highway, they spotted him. A German shepherd darting between honking cars, his coat matted with mud and blood. Sarah's instincts took over as she pulled. To the shoulder. Her husband Tom approached slowly, palms out. The dog's amber eyes held equal measures of fear and hope. Back home, as they tended his wounds, their daughter Lily suggested scanning for a microchip. The veterinarian's face paled at the results. This dog belongs to Detective James Harmon. The name hung heavy in the air, the same detective who'd vanished 3 days ago while investigating corruption at City Hall. What secrets could this silent witness be carrying? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Sarah Mercer set down a bowl of water beside the trembling German shepherd. 25 years as a pediatric nurse had taught her patience with the frightened and vulnerable. At 54, the gentle creases around her eyes deepened when she smiled, which she did often despite the weariness that came with hospital budget cuts and longer shifts. "Easy now," she murmured, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. "You're safe here." From the doorway, Tom Mercer watched with arms folded across his chest. At 56, the high school history teacher still stood tall, though his salt-and-pepper beard and reading glasses gave him the distinguished air his students both respected and occasionally teased him about. "Think he'll be okay?" Tom asked. Sarah nodded. "He's dehydrated and those paws need time to heal, but he's not as bad off as he could be." Their modest living room told the story of the Mercers. Bookshelves lined with history volumes and medical references, framed family photos showing younger versions of themselves, with their daughter Lily at various ages. A prominent space on the mantel held the ceramic paw print of their previous dog, Rusty, who had passed away 2 years ago. Lily appeared from the kitchen with a plate of leftover chicken. At 25, she'd moved back home after college, working as a veterinary assistant while saving for graduate school. Her dream of becoming a full veterinarian had been delayed by financial realities, but her determination never wavered. "Let's see if he'll eat something," she said, her practical nature evident in the way she assessed the dog's condition with a professional eye. "No collar, but he's clearly had a home. Well-muscled despite being a bit thin, and he responds to hand signals. Someone trained him." The dog sniffed cautiously at the offered food before hunger overcame caution. "What should we call him?" Tom asked. "Just until we find his owner." Sarah and Lily exchanged glances. The unspoken question hung in the air. Would they be able to part with him if they gave him a name? "Scout," Lily decided. "It's temporary, but it fits him." Tom nodded, thinking of their town of Millfield. Once a thriving manufacturing hub, it had fallen on harder times in recent decades. The schools where he taught faced constant budget threats, and Sarah's hospital had downsized twice in 5 years. Like many in town, they'd learned to make do with less, finding richness in family bonds rather than material wealth. "I'll call Dr. Chen in the morning," Lily said. "We can check for a microchip." Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah found Tom at the kitchen table with his laptop open, the blue light illuminating his concerned expression. "What is it?" she asked, setting a mug of tea beside him. "I was reading about Detective Harmon's disappearance," he said quietly. "He was investigating irregularities in city contracts before he vanished. No signs of foul play, according to official reports, but he trailed off. But 3 of my former students work at the police department now. Samantha texted me earlier today. Unofficially, there's concern that Harmon's disappearance wasn't voluntary." Sarah glanced toward the living room, where Scout had finally fallen asleep on their old rug. "You think there's a connection? The dog and the detective?" Tom closed his laptop. "I don't know. But tomorrow, when we scan that chip, I think we might be stepping into something bigger than a lost dog." Sarah reached for her husband's hand, a gesture refined by 30 years of marriage. their fingers intertwined automatically, finding the familiar spaces. "Whatever comes," she said, "we'll face it together. We always have." In the living room, Scout's ears twitched in his sleep, his paws moving as if running from something or toward something in his dreams. Morning light filtered through the curtains as Scout raised his head, instantly alert. His amber eyes tracked Sarah's movements as she prepared breakfast, missing nothing. When the mail carrier approached the front porch, he was on his feet before the footsteps were audible to human ears, not barking but standing at attention, hackles slightly raised. "He's certainly vigilant," Tom remarked, watching the dog's precise movements. Lily crouched beside Scout, gently examining his healing paws. "These weren't just cut from running on asphalt. See this?" She pointed to a distinct pattern on his pad. "Looks like he might have escaped from somewhere with broken glass." The German Shepherd submitted to her examination with surprising patience, only pulling away when she reached toward his thick neck fur. "What is it, boy?" Lily's fingers gently parted the matted coat, revealing an expensive leather collar almost hidden beneath. "Dad, look at this." Tom knelt beside them. The collar's tag was worn but still legible. Max. "So he does have a name," Sarah said, joining them. Scout, or rather Max, reacted to the name with a slight tilt of his head. But his attention quickly returned to the window, where he monitored the street with unwavering focus. "He's been trained," Tom observed. "Professional training, not just basic commands." To test his theory, Tom gave a hand signal. Palm down, moved horizontally. Immediately, Max lowered himself to the floor. Another signal, and he remained in place while Tom walked to the kitchen and back. "Police dogs get this kind of training," Lily explained, "or military working dogs." Throughout the day, they noticed other peculiarities. When a police siren wailed, in the distance, Max ran to the door, whining softly. During the local news broadcast, he became agitated when the mayor appeared on screen, pacing and growling low in his throat. "It's almost like he understands what's being said," Sarah whispered, as the reporter discussed Detective Harmon's ongoing disappearance. After dinner, while Sarah cleared the table, Max suddenly froze, ears forward, staring at the back door seconds before headlights swept across their backyard as a car slowly passed behind their house. "That's the third time that car has driven by," Tom said, discreetly peeking through the blinds. That night, as thunderstorms rolled through Millfield, Max's stoic demeanor cracked. The first lightning flash sent him scrambling under the dining room table, trembling violently. "It's okay, boy," Sarah soothed, sitting on the floor beside him. "You're safe." Gradually, Max inched closer to her, eventually resting his head on her lap. As she stroked his fur, she felt a small, hard lump near his shoulder. "Lily, can you bring the flashlight?" Under the bright beam, they discovered a small, healing puncture wound. "That's a tracking chip injection site," Lily said, frowning. "Different from the standard microchip. This is newer." "Someone wanted to monitor his movements," Tom concluded, "beyond just identification." Later, as the family prepared for bed, Max methodically patrolled the house, checking each window, each door, before finally settling at the foot of the stairs where he could watch all entrances. "He's not just a pet," Tom said quietly to Sarah. As they watched from the hallway, "He's a guardian, a witness to something." Sarah nodded slowly. "And tomorrow, when we scan his microchip at Dr. Chen's clinic, we might just find out what." In the darkened house, Max kept his vigil, occasionally lifting his head at sounds imperceptible to his human companions. Whatever secrets he carried, whatever danger followed him, he had found his temporary haven with the Mercers. For now, that would have to be enough. Dr. Chen's veterinary clinic buzzed with morning activity when the Mercers arrived with Max. The German Shepherd moved with alert caution, scanning each new person they encountered. "Let's see what this chip tells us," Dr. Chen said, running the scanner over Max's shoulder blade. The device beeped, displaying a number. The vet typed it into his computer and raised his eyebrows. "Well, that confirms it. He's registered to Detective James Harmon, Millfield Police Department. Sarah and Tom exchanged glances. "We should contact the police," Sarah said. Dr. Chen hesitated. "James has been a client for years. Max here is his third working dog. Semi-retired now, but still trained. James wouldn't have let him go missing without a search, unless something prevented him." Back in the car, Tom made the call to the Millfield Police Department. The dispatcher connected them to Officer Reynolds, who handled the detective's missing person case. "You found Harmon's dog?" Officer Reynolds sounded oddly uninterested. "Just bring it to the station. We'll deal with it. Shouldn't you send someone to pick him up?" Tom pressed. "This could be evidence in Detective Harmon's disappearance. Look, it's just a dog that got loose. Happens all the time. Bring it in if you want, or keep it. Your call." The line went dead. "That was strange," Sarah said, watching Max in the rearview mirror. "Wouldn't they want to examine his collar? Check for evidence?" Tom drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. "Unless they don't want to find evidence." At home, Tom pulled out a box of old newspapers he'd saved for a local history project. He spread several recent editions across the table. "Here," he said, pointing to a photo from 3 months ago. Detective Harmon was leading an investigation into irregularities in city development contracts. The headline read, "Detective questions Mayor's office about waterfront project delays." And this one from 6 weeks ago. Another article showed Harmon standing outside City Hall, looking stern. "Police investigation expands to include 3 council members." Lily entered with her laptop. "I found more online. Apparently Detective Harmon had been with the department for 30 years. Impeccable record. Was supposed to retire last year but stayed on for this investigation. Why would a near-retirement detective risk making powerful enemies?" Sarah wondered. The doorbell rang, startling them. Max immediately positioned himself between the family and the door, his posture rigid. Tom peered through the peephole. "It's Jake Peterson," he said, relaxing slightly. "One of my former students. He works at the Millfield Gazette now." Jake, a lanky 20-something with perpetually disheveled hair, entered cautiously past the watchful German shepherd. "Mr. Mercer, you called about Detective Harmon?" His voice lowered. "I can't talk freely at the office. The paper's been told to minimize coverage of his disappearance." "By whom?" Tom asked. "Mayor Wilson's office suggested we focus on other stories." Jake made air quotes around "suggested," but I've been digging anyway. Detective Harmon was investigating connections between the mayor, those new luxury developments, and some shell companies traced back to people with criminal records. On the television in the corner, the local news began its evening broadcast. The mayor's face appeared, discussing community initiatives. Max's reaction was immediate. A deep growl rumbled in his chest as he stared at the screen. "That's the 3rd time he's reacted to Mayor Wilson," Lily noted. Jake watched the dog with newfound interest. "Dogs remember things differently than we do. Smells, sounds. If Max was with Harmon during his investigation, he might have been present when Harmon confronted the mayor." "A witness who can't speak," Sarah said softly. "But one who might lead us to Harmon," Tom concluded. "Or at least to what Harmon discovered." Max continued to watch the mayor on the screen, his amber eyes reflecting the image of the man who might be responsible for his master's disappearance. The crash of breaking glass shattered the pre-dawn silence. Sarah bolted upright in bed as Max's deep bark echoed through the house. Tom was already on his feet, grabbing the baseball bat he kept beside the nightstand. "Stay here," he told Sarah, but she was already reaching for her robe. In the hallway, they met Lily, emerging from her room. From downstairs, Max's barking had transformed into a threatening growl. "Call 911, Tom whispered to Lily. Descending the stairs slowly, they found Max standing rigidly in the living room, facing the broken window. Shards of glass glittered on the carpet, and a rock wrapped in paper lay among them. Outside, a car. Engine revved before speeding away, tires squealing against asphalt. Tom checked each door and remaining window while Sarah calmed Max, who remained alert but allowed her touch. Lily joined them, phone in hand. Police are on their way. Tom carefully unwrapped the paper from around the rock. A typed note read, "Get rid of the dog, or you're next." Officer Reynolds arrived 20 minutes later, looking inconvenienced rather than concerned. He barely glanced at the broken window. "Probably just kids," he said dismissively, not even writing down the details. "I wouldn't worry about it. Kids don't usually leave threatening notes," Tom pointed out, showing him the message. Reynolds skimmed it, shrugged. "Likely unrelated. Someone's dog might be bothering a neighbor. We've had complaints about barking in this area." "Our dog doesn't bark unnecessarily," Sarah said. "And we've only had him a few days." "Look," Reynolds sighed, "file a report online, if you want. But this doesn't look connected to Detective Harmon, if that's what you're thinking." After he left, Tom turned to his family. He didn't even ask to see the security camera. "What security camera?" Lily asked. "The one I'm installing today," Tom replied grimly. By noon, Tom had mounted wireless cameras at key points around their property. While reviewing footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera that had captured part of their street, they spotted a black sedan driving past their house multiple times before the break-in. "No plate visible," Tom murmured. Sarah's phone rang. A colleague, Margaret, from the hospital. "Sarah, 2 men were asking about you at reception today. Didn't give names. Said they were old friends passing through town. Wanted to know your schedule." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. "What did you tell them? That we don't give out employee information?" They didn't like that answer. Security escorted them out. After Sarah hung up, Lily's expression was troubled. "I think someone followed me home from work yesterday. A dark car stayed 2 vehicles behind me the whole way. I thought I was being paranoid." "We need to decide what to do," Tom said, looking at Max, who sat at attention beside Lily. "Whoever broke that window knows Max is here, and they want him gone." "We can't just hand him over," Lily protested. "Not if he's connected to Detective Harmon's disappearance." The phone rang again. Tom answered, his expression darkening as he listened. "Who was it?" Sarah asked after he hung up. "They didn't identify themselves, just said, 'Last warning, get rid of the dog.'" Tom ran a hand through his hair. "Then they described what Lily was wearing today and what time you get off work, Sarah." Sarah sank into a chair. "They're watching us." Max moved to her side, pressing against her leg as if offering protection. "We should take him to a shelter," Tom suggested reluctantly, "at least until we figure this out." Lily shook her head. "They'd find him there, and we'd lose our only connection to what happened to Detective Harmon." Sarah stroked Max's head, feeling the solid warmth of him against her. "He stays," she decided, "but we need to be careful, very careful." Outside, a black sedan cruised slowly past their house, its tinted windows revealing nothing of those watching from within. That evening, Lily bathed Max in the downstairs bathroom. The German Shepherd tolerated the water with stoic resignation, standing perfectly still as she worked shampoo through his matted coat. "You're being so good," she murmured, carefully rinsing his fur, "almost like you've done this before." As she toweled him dry, her fingers caught on something beneath his collar. "What's this?" Lily called her parents, who gathered around as she carefully examined the leather collar they'd found partially hidden in Max's fur. The worn tag reading Max was attached to a conventional-looking collar, but there was something unusual about the thickness of the leather. "There's a seam here," Lily said, her fingers probing the inside edge. "It's not just wear and tear." Tom retrieved a magnifying glass from his desk. Under closer inspection, they discovered the collar had a hidden compartment, cleverly designed, to be nearly invisible. "Can you open it?" Sarah asked. Using a small pair of scissors, Lily carefully worked along the seam until a small section parted. Inside was a waterproof USB drive, no larger than her fingernail. "This was deliberately hidden," Tom said, turning the tiny device in his palm. They gathered around Tom's laptop as he inserted the drive. A folder appeared containing several files, mostly PDFs and image files. "These are property records," Tom said, opening the first document. "Purchase agreements for abandoned industrial sites around Millfield." "Look at the buyers," Sarah pointed. "Woodland Investments, LLC, Riverside Holdings. These are all shell companies." Lily opened an image file showing a nighttime photograph of Mayor Wilson shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit. "That's Vincent Caruso," she said. "He was in the news last year, suspected ties to organized crime, but never charged." Tom clicked through more files. Construction permits, zoning variances, all approved despite environmental concerns. Payments to consulting firms that don't seem to exist. "Look at this spreadsheet," Sarah said. "These must be bribes disguised as consulting fees." Another folder was simply labeled Witness. Tom double-clicked it, but a password prompt appeared. "We can't access this one," he said, frowning. "Try Max," Lily suggested. The password failed. Sarah studied the German shepherd, who sat watching them intently. Detective Harmon hid this drive in Max's collar. He must have been gathering evidence against the mayor and his associates. But why hide it with Max? Lily wondered. Why not keep it somewhere safer? Because Max was with him during the investigation, Tom realized. Harmon wasn't just gathering documents, he was recording meetings, conversations. Max wasn't just his pet, he was his cover for surveillance. "You think he had a camera on Max?" Sarah asked. Tom nodded. "The witness folder. It might contain recordings from a camera hidden on Max's collar or harness." "But we need the password," Lily said. Tom studied the property documents more closely. "These developments are all along the old riverfront district. I teach about this area in my local history class. They were manufacturing sites until the economic downturn 30 years ago." Sarah leaned closer to the screen. "Wait, what's that notation on the map?" "North Millfield Underground," Tom read. "That's odd. Those are the old Prohibition tunnels. They're not on modern maps." "Why would Detective Harmon mark them?" Lily asked. Max suddenly stood alert, ears forward, staring at the front window. Seconds later, headlights swept across the curtains as a vehicle slowly drove by. "They're still watching us," Sarah whispered. Tom quickly ejected the USB drive and returned it to Max's collar, resealing the hidden compartment. "We need to be careful with this information. If Harmon was killed for what he discovered, then we could be next," Lily finished. Max moved to the window, standing guard as he had each night since joining their household. But now, the Mercers understood his vigilance wasn't just training, it was protection for the evidence he carried and the secrets he had witnessed. The morning news played in the background as the Mercers ate breakfast. Tom paused with coffee mug mid-air when the reporter mentioned Detective Harmon. "It marks 1 week since the disappearance of Detective James Harmon. Police continue to investigate, but have no new leads." In related news, investigative journalist Elena Martinez published an article today questioning the transparency of recent development deals in Millfield. "Elena Martinez," Tom repeated. "Jake mentioned her yesterday. She's been investigating the same corruption as Detective Harmon." Sarah was already searching on her tablet. "Here's her article, the Millfield Gazette." "Wouldn't publish it. It's in the State Tribune instead." The article detailed questionable financial connections between Mayor Wilson's administration and development companies with suspected criminal ties. It mentioned Detective Harmon's investigation and suggested his disappearance might be connected to what he had uncovered. "We should contact her," Lily said. "She might know more about what Detective Harmon was investigating." "It could be dangerous," Sarah cautioned. "If they're watching us, we'll be careful," Tom assured her. "Public place, no direct mentions of the USB drive over the phone." Tom found Martinez's contact information and called from the landline, keeping his message vague. "Ms. Martinez, I'm Tom Mercer. I teach local history at Millfield High. I have some historical context that might interest you regarding your recent article. Could we meet?" They arranged to meet at a busy coffee shop downtown. Tom would go alone to attract less attention. "Take Max with you," Sarah insisted. If Martinez worked with Harmon, she might recognize him. Tom and Max arrived early, choosing a corner table with a view of both entrances. Max sat calmly beside him, though his ears tracked every movement in the busy shop. A woman entered precisely at the arranged time. Mid-40s, sharp eyes behind stylish glasses, carrying a weathered leather messenger bag. She scanned the room with practiced efficiency before approaching. "Mr. Mercer?" When she spotted Max, her eyes widened slightly. "And who's your companion?" "This is Max," Tom said quietly. Elena sank into the chair across from him. "Harmon's dog," she whispered. "He's alive. We thought—" She extended her hand slowly, allowing Max to sniff before gently touching his head. Max's tail thumped once. "In recognition, you knew Detective Harmon," Tom stated rather than asked. "We were working together." She glanced around before continuing in a low voice. "James and I have been tracking money laundering through these development projects for months. The mayor's office has been approving contracts for shell companies that trace back to the Donati crime family. The property records we found on the USB drive," Tom murmured. Elena's posture changed immediately. "You have his files? The ones from Max's collar," Tom confirmed. "Some are password protected. There's a witness folder, isn't there? We need those files." She leaned closer. James had a camera mounted on Max's harness. He recorded meetings, conversations, evidence that could prove the mayor is taking bribes from organized crime. Why would Detective Harmon hide everything with Max instead of securing it as evidence? "Because there's a leak in the department," Elena explained. "When evidence started disappearing from the police station, James got paranoid. Started keeping everything with him or with Max." Her expression darkened. "The night he disappeared, he called me, said he finally had everything he needed to make arrests, said Max recorded it all. Then nothing." Max suddenly tensed, his attention fixed on the window. A black sedan had parked across the street. "We need to go," Elena said, noticing the car. "Separately. They might be watching me, too." She slipped a business card into Tom's hand. "This has my secure contact information. Don't call my published number again." As Tom stood to leave, Elena whispered, "Keep Max safe. What he witnessed could bring down the mayor and half the city council." Tom exited first with Max, taking a circuitous route home. The black sedan remained parked, but he felt certain unseen eyes were tracking their movements through the crowded streets. The next morning, Tom found Sarah staring worriedly at Max, who lay curled in the corner, refusing his breakfast. "Something's wrong," she said. "He's been lethargic since you got back yesterday, and now he won't eat." Lily knelt beside the German shepherd, her veterinary assistant training evident in her methodical examination. When she gently pressed his abdomen, Max whimpered. "He needs to see Dr. Patel," she declared, "not Dr. Chen. We can't risk going back to the same place. Dr. Patel worked with me at the shelter last year. I trust her." Tom called Dr. Patel's private practice, explaining they needed an emergency appointment without providing details. The doctor agreed to see them immediately. At the small clinic, Dr. Patel, a petite woman with quick, efficient movements, greeted Lily warmly before focusing on Max. "What's going on with this handsome fellow?" she asked, running practiced hands over the dog. "Abdominal pain, lethargy, refusing food," Lily listed. "And," she lowered her voice, "there might be more to it. Can we trust you, Dr. Patel?" The veterinarian's expression turned serious. "Of course, patient confidentiality extends to their owners, too." Tom briefly explained about finding Max, his connection to Detective Harmon, and the threats they'd received. Dr. Patel nodded. "Let's see what's happening internally. I'll take an X-ray." Max remained cooperative as Dr. Patel positioned him for the scan. When the images appeared on her screen, she pointed to a small, dense object in Max's stomach. "There's your problem. He's swallowed something metallic. Given what you've told me, I doubt it's accidental. Can you remove it? Sarah asked. Yes, but not surgically if we can help it. I'll induce vomiting, safer and quicker. 20 minutes later, among the unpleasant contents of Max's stomach, Dr. Patel carefully extracted a small metal capsule roughly the size of a vitamin pill. Remarkable, she murmured, rinsing it in sterile solution. It's sealed, waterproof, acid-proof, designed to be swallowed. Using specialized tools, she carefully opened the capsule. Inside was a tiny micro-SD card and a tightly folded note. Tom gingerly unfolded the damp paper. In precise handwriting, "Trust only Martinez. Max knows where." Detective Harmon must have trained Max to swallow this if he sensed danger, Lily realized. That's extraordinary training, Dr. Patel said, administering medication to help Max recover. Military and specialized police dogs can be taught to swallow and regurgitate items on command. It's rare. The micro SD card might contain the password. For the encrypted files, Tom suggested. The office phone rang. Dr. Patel answered, her expression changing as she listened. Yes, a German shepherd was brought in today. Who's asking? She covered the mouthpiece. Someone's inquiring about a German shepherd fitting Max's description. They didn't identify themselves. Sarah peered through the blinds. Black sedan. In pulling into the parking lot. There's a back exit through the staff room, Dr. Patel said quickly. My car's parked there. Take my keys. Lily knows where I live. You can leave the car there and call a rideshare. We can't involve you in this. Tom protested. You already have, Dr. Patel replied, pressing her keys into his hand. Now go, I'll stall them. They hurried through the back door as two men in dark suits entered the front of the clinic. Sarah cradled Max, still groggy from the medication, while Tom started Dr. Patel's car. As they pulled away, they glimpsed Dr. Patel gesturing animatedly, pointing the men toward the exam rooms, buying precious time for their escape. They're following us, Lily warned, spotting the black sedan pulling out of the parking lot. Tom took a sharp turn onto a busy commercial street, then another into an alley, emerging onto a parallel road. We need somewhere safe to examine this. Micro-SD card, he said, clutching the small metal capsule. And we need to decode Harmon's message. What did he mean by Max knows where? Sarah stroked the recovering German shepherd's head. Whatever it means, I think we're about to find out. After a tense 30 minutes of evasive driving through back roads and strip mall parking lots, Tom finally lost their pursuers. They left Dr. Patel's car at an agreed-upon location and called a rideshare using Sarah's sister's account. We can't go home, Tom said. They'll be watching the house. My sister's lake cabin, Sarah suggested. It's about an hour north. She won't be using it until summer. The rideshare dropped them at a grocery store, where they purchased supplies and called another car to take them the rest of the way, ensuring no single driver knew their complete journey. The cabin sat on a wooded lot overlooking a small lake, isolated from neighboring properties by thick stands of pine. A chill hung in the air as they entered the musty interior. While Sarah and Lily set about making the space habitable, Tom connected his laptop to the cabin's spotty internet connection. Let's see what's on this micro SD card, he said, carefully inserting the tiny storage device. Unlike the USB drive, the micro SD card wasn't password protected. It contained a single video file dated 3 days before Detective Harmon's disappearance. Tom played it. Detective Harmon's weathered face filled the screen, speaking urgently in a low voice. If you're watching this, I'm likely dead or captured. The corruption goes deeper than I initially thought. Mayor Wilson isn't just taking bribes. He's facilitating money laundering for the Donati family through the redevelopment projects. The evidence is in the witness folder. Password, North Millfield ST 1931. ST 1931, Tom repeated. That must reference the Prohibition Tunnels, Speakeasy Tunnels, 1931. The properties they're developing must connect to the old tunnel network, Sarah realized. The detective continued. I've hidden hard copies of key documents at 5 locations throughout the tunnel system. Max knows the way. He's been there with me multiple times. Trust Martinez. Keep Max safe. He's not just a dog. He's recorded everything. They'll kill for what he's witnessed." The video ended abruptly. "Now we can open the witness folder," Lily said. Tom entered the password. The folder unlocked, revealing dozens of video files, audio recordings and photographs, all from a camera discreetly mounted on Max's collar or harness. "My God," Sarah whispered as they watched footage of Mayor Wilson accepting an envelope from a man they recognized as Vincent Caruso from the earlier photographs. "Look at this one." Lily pointed to another video showing the mayor, Police Chief Garner, and several unidentified men examining blueprints in what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse. As they reviewed the evidence, Max grew restless, pawing at the cabin door. Tom let him out, watching as the German Shepherd trotted purposefully toward the lake, stopping to dig at a specific spot near the shore. "He's looking for something," Tom said, following. Max uncovered a rusted metal box. Inside was an old leather-bound book, a detailed mapping of Millfield's underground infrastructure from the 1930s. "It's a complete guide to the Prohibition tunnels," Tom said, amazed. "Far more detailed than any public records. This shows access, points, chambers, connections to buildings that still exist today." Sarah studied the map. "These tunnels run beneath all the properties in the development plans. Perfect for moving money, contraband, or people undetected," Lily added. Tom's phone buzzed with a text from Elena Martinez. "Urgent. Your house being searched by police. Reynolds leading. Don't go home. Don't call. News reporting your persons of interest in Harmon case. They're framing us," Sarah said, her voice tight with fear. "We need to go back to Millfield," Tom decided. "Underground. These tunnels are our advantage. They don't know we have this map." "And we have Max," Lily added, watching the German Shepherd as he stood alert at the water's edge, scanning the tree line as if standing guard. "Detective Harmon said it himself. Max knows the way." The Mercers returned to Millfield after dark. Using Sarah's sister's rarely driven second car, they avoided main roads, parking behind an abandoned textile factory on the outskirts of town, one of the properties marked on both Harmon's evidence files and the tunnel map. "According to this map," Tom whispered, shining a flashlight on the worn leather book, "there should be an entrance behind the old boiler room." The factory stood like a ghost from Millfield's prosperous past, broken windows reflecting moonlight, faded signs promising quality and craftsmanship to a long-gone generation. Max moved confidently ahead of them, stopping at a rusted door, partially hidden by overgrown vegetation. Inside, the air hung heavy with dust and decay. Their flashlight beams cut through darkness, revealing machinery frozen in time. Max led them unerringly through the labyrinth of abandoned equipment to a massive boiler. "There," Lily pointed to a seam in the concrete floor behind the boiler. "It looks like a trapdoor." Tom and Lily strained to lift the heavy concrete slab, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Max didn't hesitate, trotting down the steps as if he'd done so many times before. "He definitely knows this place," Sarah observed. The tunnel below was surprisingly intact. Brick-lined walls arching overhead, the floor paved with worn cobblestones. The air was cool but not damp, ventilation shafts providing minimal airflow from somewhere above. "These were built to last," Tom said admiringly, "and to transport liquor during Prohibition without detection. According to local history, they connected speakeasies, warehouses, and private homes of wealthy residents." Max paused at a junction, looking back expectantly. "I think he wants us to follow," Lily said. The German Shepherd led them through a complex network of passageways. Tom traced their route on the map, noting how the tunnels connected to modern street locations above. "We're underneath the downtown area now," he whispered. "These passages run beneath all the properties Mayor Wilson's development plan targets." After 20 minutes of walking, Max stopped at a heavy wooden door, reinforced with iron. It opened with difficulty, revealing a small chamber that had been converted into a makeshift office. A folding table, camp chair, battery-powered lantern, and lockbox. "This must be one of Harmon's hideouts," Sarah said. On the table lay a police badge, partially covered by a leather-bound journal. Tom opened it carefully, finding detailed notes in Harmon's handwriting, documenting months of investigation. "Listen. And to this," Tom read, "Chief Garner compromised. Informed Mayor W of surveillance. Reynolds acting as enforcer. Trust no one in department except Martinez's contact in state police." "The chief of police is involved too," Lily said, dismayed. Sarah examined a wall where Harmon had pinned photographs, documents and newspaper clippings connected by red string. He was mapping the entire corruption network. Among the items on the wall was a detailed schedule of Mayor Wilson's movements and a list of properties with dates beside them. "I think these are locations where Harmon planted evidence or recording devices," Tom said, comparing the list to their tunnel map. "And Max was his cover, just a man walking his dog near these buildings while actually planting bugs or cameras." Max had settled on a worn blanket in the corner, clearly familiar with the space, but after a few minutes he stood alert, ears forward. "What is it, boy?" Lily asked. A distant metallic clang echoed through the tunnels. Someone else was down here. Tom quickly gathered Harmon's journal and the most crucial documents, stuffing them into his backpack. Among them, he found a plastic bag containing Harmon's police badge. "We need to move," he whispered. "Max, we're next." The German shepherd led them through a different exit, deeper into the tunnel network. As they hurried away, flashlight beams bounced off the distant walls behind them, accompanied by the murmur of voices. "They know about the tunnels," Sarah whispered. "But they don't have Max," Tom replied, "or the complete map. We still have the advantage." Max led them through a dizzying series of turns in the tunnel network, occasionally stopping to ensure they followed. The sounds of pursuit faded behind them. Finally, the German shepherd halted at a rusted metal ladder leading to a hatch overhead. "Where are we?" Sarah whispered, checking the map. "Old East Side, I think," Tom replied. "Near the community college." Lily climbed first, carefully pushing against the hatch. It opened into what appeared to be a maintenance room filled with cleaning, supplies and equipment. Max followed, then Sarah and Tom. They emerged into the deserted hallway of an academic building. A wall clock showed 11:42 p.m. "The campus is mostly empty this late," Lily observed, checking for security cameras. Max trotted purposefully down the corridor toward the mathematics department, stopping at a door marked Dr. Robert Chen, Associate Professor of Statistics. "This must be one of Harmon's contacts," Tom said. A soft glow of light showed beneath the door. Tom knocked gently. Silence, then a cautious voice. "Who is it?" "Friends of Detective Harmon," Tom answered. "We have Max with us." The door opened. A crack, revealing a thin Asian man in his 40s with tired eyes and rumpled clothes. When he spotted Max, his expression shifted from suspicion to relief. The door opened wider. "Quickly," he urged, locking the door behind them. Dr. Chen's office was cluttered with books and papers, multiple computer monitors displaying complex statistical models. A small cot in the corner suggested he'd been living there. "I've been hiding for 8 days, he explained, offering them bottled water from a small refrigerator. "Ever since James disappeared," Max approached Dr. Chen, tail wagging slightly in recognition. The professor knelt to greet the dog, checking his collar with practiced movements. "You found the drive," he stated, rather than asked. "And the micro SD card too, I hope," Tom nodded. "You're the informant." "Former city accountant," Chen corrected. "I took this teaching position after noticing irregularities in municipal accounts. When I brought concerns to my supervisor, I was suddenly downsized. But I'd kept copies. He gestured to his computers. The numbers don't lie. What exactly did you find? Sarah asked. Money laundering on a massive scale. The Donati family needed to clean millions from their operations in drugs, gambling, and extortion. Mayor Wilson provided the perfect vehicle: urban redevelopment, overvalued properties, inflated construction contracts, phantom consultancy fees. Chen typed rapidly, bringing up spreadsheets. On paper, everything looks legitimate, but when you analyze the patterns— You brought this to Detective Harmon, Lily said. Chen nodded. 6 months ago, he was the only one I trusted. We documented everything. The mayor, Chief Garner, Huff, the city council, all taking payoffs. The construction companies are mostly fronts for Donati operations. Do you know what happened to Detective Harmon? Tom asked. Chen's expression darkened. The night he disappeared, we met in these tunnels. He said he finally had enough evidence for the state prosecutor. He was going to hand everything over the next morning. Chen reached into his desk drawer, removing a voice recorder. I gave him my sworn testimony. He pressed play. His own voice detailed specific instances of corruption, dates, amounts, account numbers. This is a copy, Chen explained. Harmon had the original. As we were leaving, Max suddenly grew alert. Harmon sensed something was wrong. He gave Max a command, something in German, and the dog swallowed something. Then Harmon told me to run. I heard shouting as I fled. You've been hiding ever since, Sarah said. Chen nodded. I'm certain Officer Reynolds and his men were waiting for us. Someone tipped them off. He looked at Max sadly. I never expected to see this brave dog again. A sudden noise in the hallway silenced them. Footsteps approached, then passed the A door. We're not safe here, Chen whispered. They've been searching the campus periodically. We need to leave. Come with us, Tom urged. We're gathering evidence to take to state authorities. Chen hesitated only briefly before grabbing a backpack, apparently prepared for this moment. I've been ready to run since James disappeared. Max was already at the door, alert and waiting. Max led them back through the campus building to a different tunnel entrance, a utility access point in the boiler room. Once underground, Chen consulted the map with Tom. We need to contact Elena. Martinez, Tom said. She was working with Harmon, too. I've never met her, Chen admitted, but Harmon trusted her completely. We met her yesterday, Sarah explained. She has a secure communication channel. Using Chen's encrypted laptop, they sent a message to the contact information Elena had provided. Her response came quickly. Meet at Old Harborview Hotel, service entrance, 1 a.m. The abandoned hotel stood at the edge of the proposed waterfront development zone, a once grand building awaiting demolition. According to Chen, the Donati family had purchased it through shell companies for suspiciously below market value. They navigated the tunnels, emerging 2 blocks from the hotel and approaching cautiously through shadow-filled streets. The service entrance was chained but unlocked. Inside, emergency lights cast a weak glow across the derelict lobby. Eleanor? Tom called softly. No answer. Max growled low in his throat, ears forward. Something's wrong, Lily whispered. They found Elena's messenger bag behind the reception desk, its contents scattered. A struggle had occurred, a toppled lamp, scuff marks on the dusty floor. We're too late, Sarah said. Or it's a trap, Chen suggested grimly. A police radio crackled to life from behind a nearby door. They froze, listening. Subject location confirmed. Harborview Hotel. Approach with caution. Reynolds wants them alive. The voice was familiar. Officer Davis, who had coached Tom's son in Little League years ago. They're using police frequencies, Tom realized. We can listen in. From the radio, another voice responded. Copy that. Chief says to remember the dog is the priority. Has evidence on the collar. We need to go, Chen urged. Now! They retreated toward the tunnels, but flashlight beams appeared at the service entrance. Backing away, they found an emergency stairwell. As they climbed, more radio chatter reached them. All units, Be advised, Martinez is secured. Repeat, Martinez is secured. Mayor wants her taken to the warehouse location. They've captured Elena, Sarah whispered. On the 5th floor, they found a former housekeeping closet to hide in, listening to the radio as officers methodically searched the building. I don't understand, Lily said. How did they know we'd be here? Someone tipped them off, Chen replied. Our secure channel wasn't so secure. The implication hung heavy in the air. Elena was the only one who knew they'd be at the hotel. No, Tom shook his head. Elena wouldn't betray us. She was working with Harmon. Then she's been compromised, Chen insisted. Maybe threatened or coerced. Max suddenly perked up, moving to the closet door. Instead of alerting to danger, his tail wagged slightly. The door opened slowly to reveal Jake Peterson, Tom's former student from the newspaper. Mr. Mercer, he whispered. Thank God, I've been looking everywhere for you. Jake, how did you find us? I followed the police chatter. I have a scanner app. He glanced nervously down the hall. We need to go. They're searching floor by floor. How? Do we know we can trust you? Sarah asked. Elena sent me. Jake pulled out his phone, showing a text message time-stamped 45 minutes earlier. Mercer's in danger. Set up at Harborview. Find them. She must have realized it was a trap, Lily said. She was arrested 20 minutes ago, Jake confirmed. I saw them take her. She managed to drop this. He handed Tom a USB drive. Before they grabbed her, she said something about Max and evidence. Max approached Jake warily, sniffing him before relaxing slightly. I know another way out, Jake said. Through the old staff quarters, the tunnels have police in them now. We don't have much choice, Tom admitted. As they followed Jake through the darkened corridors, Sarah whispered to Tom, I don't like this. How did he know about Max? Before Tom could answer, flashlight beams swept the hallway ahead. Jake pushed open a door, ushering them into what had been the hotel manager's office. Quick, through here, he urged, pointing to a private staircase. Tom hesitated, noticing Max's posture had changed, hackles raised, a low growl building. Jake, Tom asked carefully, how exactly did you know we were in the tunnels? Jake's expression flickered momentarily. Elena mentioned it, he said too quickly. In her text. Tom glanced at the phone message again. No mention of tunnels. Max, Tom said firmly. Guard. The German shepherd immediately positioned himself between Jake and the rest of the group, his warning growl deepening. Jake's demeanor changed instantly. He reached toward his jacket, but Chen shoved him hard against the wall, while Tom wrested a concealed radio from his pocket. You're working with them, Tom said. Not a question, but a confirmation. Jake's face hardened. You don't understand what you're up against. The Donatis don't lose, ever. They told me to find you, gain your trust. They have your house surrounded. They've frozen your bank accounts. By tomorrow, you'll be wanted for Detective Harmon's murder. Where's Elena? Sarah demanded. Warehouse on the North Docks, where they probably took Harmon too. Not that it matters. You'll never get to her. Chen secured Jake with zip ties from his emergency backpack. How many officers are corrupt? Enough, Jake replied. The chief, Reynolds, about half the force. The rest just follow orders without asking questions. And you? Lily asked, hurt in her voice. You were Dad's student. Jake couldn't meet her eyes. They offered me an exclusive on the crime family. They were going to pin on you. Front page, career-making story. His voice faltered. I didn't know they'd actually hurt anyone. Sirens wailed in the distance, coming closer. We need to move, Chen urged. They left Jake secured in a closet, taking his phone and radio. As they hurried down the back stairwell, Tom had a realization. Wait, Harmon's message. Max knows where. What if it wasn't just about the tunnels? Sarah looked at the German shepherd trotting ahead of them. You think Max knows where Harmon is? Or where the most important evidence is, Tom suggested. They exited through the hotel's former restaurant kitchen into a narrow alley. Police vehicles blocked both ends of the street, but they managed to slip through a gap in a construction fence into the adjacent property. Finding momentary shelter in an abandoned warehouse office, Tom spread out the tunnel map and evidence they'd gathered. "We need to understand what Max knows where truly means," he said. Lily examined Max's collar again. "There's a camera here, but I don't see any storage device." "The storage must be elsewhere," Chen suggested. "Perhaps a wireless transmission to a receiver? Or maybe," Tom said slowly, "the camera activated at specific locations." He studied the map. "These 5 marks Harmon made, they correspond to meetings on the videos we found on the USB drive." Sarah traced the locations. "So Max's collar camera was programmed to record automatically at these coordinates?" "A geo-fence trigger," Chen confirmed. "Elegant solution." Tom turned to Max. "The command Harmon used that night with Chen, what was it again?" "Something in German," Chen recalled. "Züge, I think." "Züge, witness," Tom translated. He knelt before Max. "Züge," he said clearly. Max's demeanor changed instantly. He stood, at attention, then walked to the door, looking back expectantly. "I think he wants us to follow him," Lily said. They slipped back into the tunnel network through a maintenance access point. Max moved with newfound purpose, leading them unerringly through the labyrinthine passageways. After 20 minutes, they emerged into a chamber beneath what appeared to be a warehouse. Max stopped at a section of brick wall that looked unremarkable. Tom examined it closely, finding a loose brick that concealed a small cavity. Inside was a weatherproof case containing a hard drive and a stack of documents. "This must be Harmon's backup," Chen said, connecting the drive to his laptop. "Everything's here: financial records, photographs, video recordings, sworn statements from witnesses." Tom examined the documents: property deeds, bank transfers, transcripts of recorded conversations. "This is enough to bring down the entire operation." Sarah studied a map included with the documents. "There's a location marked here: North Docks, Warehouse 17. She looked up. "The same place Jake said they're holding Elena, and possibly Detective Harmon," Lily added. "But how do we get this evidence to the right authorities when the local police are compromised?" Chen asked. Max's ears perked up at a distant sound. And from the tunnels, someone was coming. Chen hastily packed the evidence as footsteps approached. They had no escape route. The chamber had only one entrance. Max, surprisingly, wasn't growling. He stood alert, but calm. "Hide," Tom whispered, guiding. Everyone behind a stack of old crates. A beam of light swept the chamber as a figure entered. A woman in plain clothes, moving with cautious precision. She held a gun in a professional grip, flashlight mounted beneath it. "Hello?" she called softly. "Dr. Chen? Mr. Mercer?" They remained silent. The woman sighed, holstering her weapon and raising empty hands. "My name is Special Agent Diane Foster, FBI. Elena Martinez contacted me before she was taken. I'm here to help." Max trotted out from their hiding place, approaching the woman without hesitation. He sniffed her hand, then looked back toward the Mercers, tail wagging slightly. "He recognizes her," Lily whispered. Tom stepped out. "How do we know you're really FBI?" The woman produced a badge and identification. "I've been investigating the Donati family's operations in Millfield for 14 months. Detective Harmon was my unofficial local contact." Sarah and Lily emerged, followed by a still cautious Chen. "If you're FBI, where have you been?" Sarah asked. "Detective Harmon is missing. We've been threatened. Police are hunting us." "I understand your frustration," Agent Foster said. "I've been deep undercover. I couldn't break cover without compromising a 2-year multi-agency investigation. When Elena Martinez activated our emergency protocol, I came as quickly as I could." "Emergency protocol?" Tom asked. "Elena had my secure contact information. We never met in person. Harmon was our intermediary, but we established a distress signal. She sent it 3 hours ago." Chen studied the agent's ID. "This looks legitimate. It is, Foster assured him. Now, I understand you have evidence Detective Harmon collected? Tom nodded cautiously. Financial records, video recordings, witness testimony. Enough to prove Mayor Wilson and the police chief are working with the Donati crime family. And we know where they're holding Elena, Lily added. North Docks, Warehouse 17. Foster's expression tightened. That's a Donati stronghold, heavily guarded. If they've taken Elena there... She didn't finish the thought. We think Detective Harmon might be there too, Sarah said. If he's still alive, Foster said quietly. I've been trying to locate him since his disappearance. All leads went cold. Until we found Max, Tom said, gesturing to the German shepherd. Foster knelt beside Max, examining his collar. Harmon told me about his canine partner, the camera, the training, ingenious. We can't trust local authorities, Chen said. Half the police force is involved. I have a team standing by, Foster explained, just outside city limits. But we need ironclad evidence before we can move officially. Tom handed her the hard drive. Will this do? Foster connected it to a secure tablet, scanning the contents with growing amazement. This is comprehensive. Harmon was thorough. So what now? Sarah asked. I coordinate with my team and we prepare to move on the warehouse. But we need to do this by the book. If we make one procedural mistake, good lawyers could get everyone off on technicalities. Elena might not have that kind of time, Lily argued. Foster nodded grimly. I know. That's why I'm proposing a compromise. My team prepares the official operation while we do reconnaissance on the warehouse. No engagement, just intelligence. Gathering? We're civilians, Tom pointed out. I'm not asking you to participate in the raid, Foster clarified. But you know the tunnel system, and Max can lead us there undetected. Once we confirm Elena's location, my team moves in officially. And Harmon? Sarah asked. If he's there, we'll find him, Foster promised. Max nudged Foster's hand, then walked to the tunnel entrance, looking back expectantly. I think he's trying to tell us something, Lily said. Foster checked her watch. We need to move. My team needs 4 hours to get warrants and prepare. That gives us a small window for reconnaissance. Tom shared a look with Sarah, who nodded. We're in. One condition, Chen added. You keep copies of everything, in case anything happens to your evidence. Agreed, Foster said. Let's move. The tunnel should take us close to the warehouse. District without being spotted. Max led the way, trotting confidently into the darkness. The tunnels narrowed as they approached the waterfront, the air growing damper with the scent of the harbor. Max moved silently ahead, pausing occasionally, to ensure they followed. According to the map, we're almost underneath Warehouse 17, Tom whispered, tracing their route with a penlight. Agent Foster checked her weapon and communications device. My team is in position outside the city. Warrants are being processed. We have approximately 2 hours before the official operation begins. What's the plan? Sarah asked. Reconnaissance only, Foster emphasized. We find an observation point, confirm if Elena and possibly Detective Harmon are inside, then relay that information to my team. The warehouse should have access points. From the tunnels, Chen suggested, pointing to markings on the map, Prohibition-era loading areas for smuggling liquor directly from ships. Foster nodded. Perfect for our needs. Tom, you and I will find an observation point. The rest of you stay in the tunnels with Max. I'm coming too, Sarah insisted. I'm a nurse. If Elena or Detective Harmon are injured, they might need immediate medical attention. After a brief debate, they agreed Sarah would join them. Lily and Chen would remain in the tunnels with their evidence copies as insurance. Tom, Sarah, and Foster followed Max through a narrowing passage that ended at a rusted ladder. Above was a trapdoor that Foster eased open with practiced care. They emerged into a storage room filled with crates. The warehouse beyond was cavernous, its high ceiling crossed by metal catwalks. Through gaps in the stacked containers, they glimpsed armed guards patrolling the main floor. Stay low, Foster whispered. They crept to a position behind steel drums that offered a view of the warehouse's central area. What they saw made Sarah gasp. Elena Martinez was tied to a chair in the center of an open space, her face bruised, but unconscious. Nearby, slumped in another chair and barely recognizable through swelling and dried blood, was a man they assumed must be Detective Harmon. "He's alive," Tom whispered. Mayor Wilson paced around them, flanked by Police Chief Garner and Officer Reynolds. Several other men in expensive suits stood watching. "Donati lieutenants," Foster mouthed silently. "Last chance, detective." Wilson's voice echoed in the cavernous space. "Where is the evidence? Where is your dog?" Harmon raised his head with effort. "Go to hell, Richard." Wilson nodded to Reynolds, who struck Harmon hard across the face. "The Mercer family won't get far," the mayor continued. "We have their descriptions at every exit from the city. When we find them and the dog, this ends. You won't get away." "With this," Elena said, her voice hoarse but defiant, "there are people outside Millfield who know what you're doing." Wilson laughed. "Your FBI contact? Agent Foster has been under surveillance since she arrived in town. She'll be dealt with soon enough." Foster tensed beside Tom and Sarah. "We have a problem," she whispered. "They know about me. The official operation may be compromised." "What do we do?" Sarah asked. "I need to warn my team," Foster replied, checking her secure phone. "No signal down here." "There's a maintenance passage to the roof," Tom suggested, pointing to a section of the map. "You might get reception there." "I'll go," Foster decided. "You two stay hidden. No heroics. If I'm not back in 15 minutes, get back to the tunnels. And escape with Lily and Chen." As Foster slipped away, Tom and Sarah continued watching the scene unfold. "Bring in the veterinarian," Mayor Wilson ordered. A side door opened, and Dr. Chen, the veterinarian they'd originally visited, was escorted in by armed men. "You said you'd leave my family alone if I cooperated," Dr. Chen protested. "And I will," Wilson assured him. "Once you identify the German Shepherd on site, our sources say the Mercers will be arriving at the East Dock entrance within the hour." "They're expecting us," Sarah whispered in horror. "It's another trap." "We need to warn Agent Foster," Tom said. A hand clamped onto Tom's shoulder from behind. He turned to find Officer Reynolds pointing a gun at them, his face twisted in a triumphant smile. "Well, well," Reynolds said. "Look who walked right into our hands." Reynolds marched Tom and Sarah into the central area at gunpoint. "Look what I found sneaking around, Mr. Mayor." Mayor Wilson's smile was coldly triumphant. "The Mercers. How convenient." He glanced around. "But where's your daughter? And more importantly, where's the dog?" "We don't know," Sarah replied, meeting his gaze steadily. Elena's eyes widened seeing them, while Detective Harmon struggled to focus through his swollen face. "Tom," Harmon croaked. "Sarah, you shouldn't be here." "Touching reunion," Wilson mocked. "Chief Garner, have your men search the area. The daughter and that German Shepherd must be nearby." Tom studied their surroundings, counting 8 armed men, a mix of police officers in uniform and Donati enforcers in suits. No sign of Agent Foster. "You won't get away with this," Tom said. "Too many people know what you're doing." Wilson pulled a leather-bound ledger from his briefcase. "This contains every payment, every shell company, every participant in our enterprise. The only copy." He held it up. "The evidence you think you have? Duplicates can be denied, digital files questioned. This is the only irrefutable record." "Why?" "Keep it?" Sarah asked, buying time. "Insurance," Wilson replied, "against my partners deciding I'm disposable." He nodded toward the stone-faced men in suits. "Business is about leverage, Mrs. Mercer." A commotion at the side entrance interrupted them. 2 guards dragged in Lily, struggling against their grip. "Found her hiding in a storage closet." "One reported." "Lily," Sarah cried. "Where's the dog?" Wilson demanded. "I don't know," Lily answered defiantly. "We got separated." Wilson turned to Dr. Chen, the veterinarian. "Is this the girl who brought the German Shepherd to your clinic?" Dr. Chen looked at Lily with genuine regret. "Yes. And the dog, it had a camera in its collar." I don't know about any camera," Dr. Chen stammered. Reynolds struck him hard across the face. "Don't lie." We know Harmon was using the dog for surveillance. From the catwalk above, a guard called down, "Sir, we've found something!" Everyone looked up as the guard held aloft a dog collar. "Bring it here," Wilson ordered. As the guard descended, a low growl emanated from the shadows beyond. The stacked crates. Max emerged into the light, teeth bared, hackles raised, a formidable guardian with no collar. "There he is," Wilson exclaimed. "Shoot it!" Before anyone could fire, Max launched himself at the nearest guard, a blur of fur and focused aggression. The distraction was instant. In the chaos, Tom knocked Reynolds aside, while Sarah lunged for Wilson's ledger. From multiple directions came sudden shouts and crashes. Agent Foster burst through a side door with her weapon drawn. Simultaneously, Robert Chen, the former accountant, emerged from another entrance with a fire extinguisher, discharging it to create a blinding cloud. "FBI, everyone down!" Foster shouted above the commotion. Gunfire erupted. Tom pulled Sarah behind a stack of crates, while Lily freed Elena with a knife she'd concealed in her boot. Max continued his strategic assault, disarming a guard, then racing to Detective Harmon, standing protectively before his injured master. Wilson, clutching his precious ledger, backed toward an exit. This isn't over. As he turned to flee, he collided with Dr. Patel, the veterinarian who had helped them extract the capsule from Max. She swung her medical bag with surprising force, catching Wilson across the temple. He stumbled, dropping the ledger, which skidded across the floor. Max darted forward, snatched the ledger in his teeth, and returned to Harmon's side. "Good boy," Harmon whispered, his first smile visible through his injuries. More FBI agents poured in through multiple entrances. Chief Garner and several officers surrendered immediately, while others attempted to fight. Reynolds made a desperate break for freedom, but was tackled by Robert Chen in a surprising display of courage. Foster secured Wilson, who glared at the Mercers with venomous hatred. "You have no idea what you've done. The Donatis don't forgive." "They don't forget. Neither do we," Tom replied, helping Detective Harmon to his feet. Sarah, applying her nursing skills to Elena's injuries, looked up. "Where are the Donati men?" They scanned the warehouse. In the chaos, the suited crime family representatives had vanished like smoke. Dawn broke over Millfield as Agent Foster coordinated the largest law enforcement operation in the city's history. State police cruisers lined the streets while FBI agents secured evidence and processed arrests. The warehouse had become a command center, with the parking lot filled with vehicles from various agencies. Detective Harmon, despite his injuries, refused to leave until he had given his official statement. Max remained at his side, a constant, guardian even as paramedics treated the detective's wounds. 14 years, Harmon said, his voice rough from dehydration. "I've been tracking the Donati influence in Millfield for 14 years. Never thought it would end like this." "With you alive?" Sarah asked, finishing a makeshift bandage on his arm. Harmon smiled weakly. "With ordinary citizens doing what an entire police department couldn't." Nearby, Elena Martinez was documenting everything with her camera and recorder. Her professional demeanor had returned, despite her bruised face. "This will be the story of my career," she told Lily. "And I'm naming all of you as the heroes you are." Agent Foster approached with Mayor Wilson's ledger in an evidence bag. "This is even more damning than we hoped. Names, dates, amounts, the entire operation documented in Wilson's own handwriting. Prosecutions will be airtight." "What about the Donati representatives who escaped?" Tom asked. "We have their identities now," Foster assured him. "This isn't over, but we've dealt them a significant blow. Their entire Millfield operation is dismantled. Through the warehouse windows, they watched as Police Chief Garner, Officer Reynolds, and Mayor Wilson were led into separate transport vehicles. Several city council members and business leaders were also being processed, their faces hidden from news cameras that had begun to gather. "Half the city government is implicated," Robert Chen said, still looking shocked at his own courage in tackling Reynolds. "Who's left to run things? Honest people." Agent Foster replied. They exist even in Millfield. The state will appoint interim leadership until special elections. Dr. Patel approached, carrying her medical bag. I've examined the dog, she reported. Despite everything, he's in remarkable condition. Detective Harmon trained him well. Harmon reached to stroke Max's head. He's more than trained. He understood. The stakes! Didn't you, boy? Max responded with a gentle lick to Harmon's bandaged hand. What happens now? Lily asked. Statements, evidence processing, grand jury, Foster explained. The legal system will take over. With the evidence we have, particularly Wilson's ledger and Max's recordings, convictions are virtually guaranteed. Tom watched through the window as a transport van carried away the handcuffed form of Jake Peterson. Even the people we thought we could trust. Not everyone, Sarah corrected, looking at Dr. Chen and Dr. Patel, who had both risked their safety. To help. A commotion at the entrance drew their attention as state authorities led in 3 of the missing Donati associates, captured at a private airfield trying to leave the country. The family's attempt to distance themselves from the Millfield operation had failed. By mid-morning, the warehouse had been fully processed as a crime scene. The Mercers, exhausted but relieved, prepared to give their final statements before being allowed to return home. Detective Harmon, against medical advice, stood to shake Tom's hand. You and your family did what I couldn't. You finished it. You started it, Tom replied, and nearly died for it. Worth it, Harmon said, looking around at the evidence being catalogued and the steady stream of corrupt officials being processed. This city deserves better. Agent Foster joined them, reviewing documents on her tablet. This is just the beginning. The evidence trail leads to operations in 3 other cities. The Donati family's entire eastern seaboard network is exposed. As they finished their statements, a crowd had gathered outside, ordinary citizens of Millfield watching justice unfold. A cheer went up as Detective Harmon emerged, supported by Sarah on one side and Tom on the other, with Max walking proudly ahead. The morning newspapers were already being distributed with a headline Elena had rushed to press. Corruption ring exposed. Mayor and officials arrested. Beneath it, in smaller type, local family and heroic dog uncover years of criminal activity. Harmon looked at the headline and then at Max. Not bad for a retired police dog's final case. 3 months later, Millfield bloomed in the warmth of early summer. The city park, once neglected under the corrupt administration, hosted a community celebration. Banners proclaimed Millfield Renewal, while families gathered for food, music, and a ceremony marking the town's fresh start. Sarah Mercer adjusted a tablecloth at the picnic area where her family would soon join her. The past months had brought whirlwind changes, testimonies, depositions, and an unexpected spotlight as their story made national news. Mrs. Mercer, a tall woman with silver hair, approached, hand extended. I'm Carol Bennett, the interim mayor. I wanted to thank you personally before the ceremony. We just did what anyone would do, Sarah replied, the response automatic after countless interviews. Bennett smiled. That's precisely why you're being honored today, because not everyone would have done what your family did. Across the park, Tom stood with Robert Chen, now heading a citizen oversight committee for municipal finances. They were deep in conversation, with contractors reviewing plans for the waterfront redevelopment, a legitimate project now, with transparent funding and public input. The historical elements will be preserved, Tom explained, pointing to architectural drawings, including safe access to some of the prohibition tunnels as a heritage tour. Lily arrived with Dr. Patel, both wearing veterinary scrubs. Since the events at the warehouse, Lily had been offered a scholarship to complete her veterinary degree while working part-time at Dr. Patel's expanding practice. Sorry we're late, Lily called. Emergency surgery on Mrs. Davidson's beagle. He's fine, she added quickly. The family gathered as Elena Martinez approached with her camera crew. Her documentary on the Millfield corruption scandal had earned national recognition, launching her career to new heights. Just a few final shots before the ceremony, she explained. The network is calling this the story that started with a rescue and ended with redemption. A bit dramatic, Tom commented with a smile. But accurate, Eleanor replied. A police cruiser pulled up to the park entrance. Detective Harmon emerged, now retired but recovering well. His limp was barely noticeable as he walked toward them, a familiar German shepherd at his side. Max spotted the Mercers and pulled forward eagerly, tail wagging. Harmon laughed and let him go. The dog bounded across the grass, greeting each family member with enthusiastic affection before settling beside Lily. "He still misses you all," Harmon said, joining them, "even with me back on my feet." He handed Tom an official-looking envelope. Inside were adoption papers for Max, already signed by Harmon. "I don't understand," Tom said, confused. "I'm moving to Arizona next month," Harmon explained. "My daughter's family is there. The climate will be better for my recovery, but their condo doesn't allow large dogs." He looked at Max with evident emotion. "Besides, he chose you. That night on the highway, it wasn't an accident. He was looking for help, and he found exactly the right family." "But he's your partner," Sarah said. Harmon shook his head. "He's earned his retirement, and he knows where he belongs." He knelt to stroke Max's fur one last time. "Take care of them, Max. They're good people." The ceremony began with the interim mayor acknowledging all who had helped expose the corruption. Agent Foster, in town for the occasion, provided an update. "On the case, all major participants have entered guilty pleas," she announced. "The evidence was too overwhelming for trials. Mayor Wilson is serving 20 years. The Donati family's regional operations have been dismantled." Later, as twilight softened the park's edges, the Mercers walked home with Max, trotting contentedly beside them. Their path took them past the refurbished City Hall, where a plaque had been installed, commemorating the events that had transformed Millfield. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't stopped for Max that day?" Lily asked. Tom watched as Max moved ahead, still alert, still protective, but now with the relaxed demeanor of a dog who knew he was home. "Some things are meant to be," he replied. "Sometimes the rescuer becomes the rescued." At home, Max made his customary patrol of the house before settling at the foot of the stairs. His days as a witness to crime were over. Now he was simply a beloved pet with an extraordinary past, watching over the family that had risked everything to protect him.